Welcome to VNT. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. Let's dive into the latest international dairy drama, a story that's about much more than just milk. This is a tale of two neighbors, both proud of their traditions, their farmers, and their breakfast tables. But now those breakfast tables are at the center of a heated dispute that's making headlines around the world. It's the US versus Canada, and the battleground is the border that stretches for thousands of miles, connecting communities, but also dividing two very different approaches to dairy. President Trump has threatened a massive 250% tariff on Canadian dairy, accusing Canada of unfair trade practices that, he claims, put American farmers at a disadvantage. He's made dairy a symbol of his broader fight for what he calls fair deals for the US, rallying supporters and stirring up strong emotions on both sides of the border. Canada, led by Prime Minister Trudeau, fired back, vowing to defend its farmers and its unique supply management system. Trudeau insists that Canada's approach isn't about cheating, but about supporting rural communities and ensuring Canadian families have access to local, high-quality dairy products. Both sides claim to be victims. Trump says US farmers are being cheated out of their livelihoods, while Canada insists it's simply protecting its own way of life. For American farmers, the stakes are high. They worry about losing access to a key market. For Canadians, it's about defending a system that's been in place for generations. It's a classic David versus Goliath, but with milk and poutine instead of slingshots and stones. The debate has spilled over into daily life, with Canadians rallying around their farmers and Americans demanding change. Even iconic foods, like poutine, have become symbols in this cross-border standoff. Beneath the political noise are real people, farmers who rise before dawn, families who depend on the land, and politicians trying to look tough for their voters. The outcome of this dairy duel will shape not just trade policy, but the lives of thousands of ordinary people on both sides of the border. This isn't just about milk, it's about how close allies handle conflict when the stakes are high, and what it means for the future of food, farming, and friendship between two nations that share so much, yet sometimes clash over the simplest things. So, what's a tariff? It's a word you hear a lot in the news, especially when countries start arguing about trade. But what does it actually mean for the things we buy, the people who make them, and the borders that separate us? Let's break it down. A tariff is basically a tax that a government puts on goods coming in from another country. Think of it like a cover charge at a club, but instead of getting you into a party, it makes foreign products more expensive when they cross the border. The idea is to protect local businesses by making imported goods cost more, so people are more likely to buy things made at home. Recently, President Trump proposed a massive 250% tariff on Canadian dairy products. He says it's payback for Canada's own high tariffs on American milk and cheese. The message? If you make it hard for us to sell our dairy in your country, we'll do the same to you. The goal behind this move is to pressure Canada into lowering its trade barriers, opening up their market to American farmers who are struggling to compete. Supporters argue that this tough stance could level the playing field and help US dairy producers sell more milk, cheese, and butter. But tariffs are blunt tools. They don't just target one problem, they can smash a lot of things at once. When tariffs go up, so do prices for everyone, not just the people the policy is aimed at. That means, when you go to the store, you might notice your favorite cheese or yogurt costs more. Families on tight budgets feel the pinch first, and small businesses that rely on affordable ingredients can struggle to keep up. Ironically, the very farmers these tariffs are supposed to help can end up hurting too. If other countries strike back with their own tariffs, American dairy products become harder to sell overseas, leaving farmers with surplus milk and falling prices at home. If Canada retaliates, American dairy could become even harder to sell abroad. That means more milk sitting unsold, and more financial stress for the people who work the land. Tariffs often backfire, causing pain on both sides of the border. What starts as a trade dispute can quickly turn into a full-blown trade war, with each country raising barriers higher and higher. President Trump promises that this short-term pain will lead to long-term gain, but it's a risky gamble. There's no guarantee that the other side will back down, and the costs can add up fast. In the meantime, real businesses and families are caught in the crossfire, facing uncertainty about their future. For many, the debate over tariffs isn't just about politics, it's about their livelihoods, their communities, and the food on their tables. Why is Canada so protective of its dairy? It's all about supply management. The government sets quotas for milk production, keeping prices stable and farmers afloat. To protect this system, Canada slaps huge tariffs on foreign dairy once quotas are filled, up to 300%. This keeps cheap imports out and the system running smoothly. Canadian politicians fiercely defend it, seeing it as vital to rural life. Critics say it raises prices for consumers, but the system is politically untouchable. When Trump demands change, Canada's answer is a polite but firm no. Supply management is a core part of Canada's economic identity. Ironically, the USMCA trade deal, Trump's own creation, was supposed to fix this. When the United States, Mexico, and Canada sat down to renegotiate NAFTA, Trump promised American farmers a better deal, one that would open up new opportunities and level the playing field. The USMCA was touted as a major win, especially for the U.S. dairy industry, which had long complained about being shut out of the Canadian market. Trump himself called it historic, claiming it would bring fairness and prosperity to American agriculture. But as with many things in politics, the reality has turned out to be far more complicated. The deal did give U.S. farmers more access to Canada's tightly controlled dairy market, and, for a moment, it seemed like a genuine victory. Dairy groups cheered, politicians took victory laps, and there was a sense of optimism in rural America. The industry hailed it as a long overdue breakthrough, and some farmers even hoped it would help reverse years of financial hardship. But beneath the surface, not everyone was convinced the changes would be as transformative as promised. Now Trump claims Canada is cheating under the very deal he signed. He argues that Canada is using loopholes and technicalities to limit the actual amount of American dairy entering their market, undermining the spirit of the agreement. At rallies and in interviews, he's accused Canada of playing games and not living up to their end of the bargain. The real fight isn't about tariffs anymore. It's about how Canada allocates its tariff-free quotas. These quotas determine which companies can import American dairy. And, critics say, Canada's favoring its own processors, making it harder for U.S. products to actually reach Canadian consumers. It's a technical dispute, but one with big consequences for farmers on both sides of the border. A trade panel reviewed the case and ultimately sided with Canada, saying their system was within the rules. But that hasn't satisfied U.S. politicians or the dairy lobby, who argue the spirit of the deal is being violated. The dispute has become a political football, with both sides digging in and refusing to back down. Trump's new tariff threat is less about fixing a broken deal and more about expressing frustration. He's using the threat of tariffs as leverage, hoping to force Canada to change its system. But for many, it feels like déjà vu, a return to the same trade tensions the USMCA was supposed to resolve. In the end, Trump wanted to tear down Canada's entire supply management system, but the USMCA only managed to put a small crack in it. The fundamental structure remains intact, and American farmers are still waiting for the big changes they were promised. Now, with the goalposts moving yet again, Trump is threatening a new trade war to get his way. The question is, will more conflict bring real change, or just more uncertainty for farmers caught in the middle? Trade wars sound simple, but farmers pay the price. If Trump slaps tariffs on Canadian dairy, Canada will retaliate, likely targeting U.S. farm exports. American farmers could lose key markets and face higher costs for essentials like animal feed. We've seen this before. Tariffs lead to lost sales, falling prices, and government bailouts. Canadian farmers aren't immune either. A trade war would hurt their exports too. In the end, both sides suffer, especially the farmers, workers, and consumers. Trade wars are a race to the bottom with no real winners. Political posturing leaves real people caught in the middle. Canada isn't the main problem for U.S. dairy farmers. Trade wars with China and the EU have crushed global demand, driving prices down. Add to that a devastating bird flu outbreak, which has slashed milk production and increased costs. Labor shortages make things worse. Half of U.S. dairy workers are immigrants, and immigration crackdowns threaten the workforce. Without these workers, milk prices could skyrocket. Farmers face low prices, disease, and a shrinking workforce. A perfect storm. Blaming Canada is a convenient distraction, but it doesn't solve the real crises. The true threats are global trade wars, disease, and labor instability. Will a tariff war with Canada help U.S. dairy farmers? Almost certainly not. The Canadian market is small compared to global demand. The real issue is chronic overproduction in the U.S., not Canadian barriers. The USMCA already gave U.S. farmers more access. Fighting for a bit more is high risk, low reward. Retaliation would hurt other American exports, making things worse. The real solutions: fix global trade disputes, stabilize the workforce, and address overproduction. This dairy battle is more about politics than economics. For farmers, it's a fight they're almost guaranteed to lose.